Hey everyone. Hi Taurus. Alright, welcome to November. Happy Scorpio season. Your opposite season. Happy opposite birthday. Excuse me. So, you actually technically have, the only card that showed itself is the King of Cups in the heart of the matter. So big emotions, right? But it technically is Scorpio's card, so it's important that mirroring. You know what I mean? Anyone new to Opal Oracle, by the way, my name's Raaji. Nice to meet you. Happy we found one another. And hey, stay close, would you? No. Sorry. I know, no masters, no slaves. I just don't want you running off. No's returning. Hi. Then you know who I'm talking to, the dogs. Alright, let's see what you got for cards here. What's in the past? Ace of Pentacles. Awesome. What's your conscious position? Sun. Rad. Subconscious. Five of Swords. This has come up for Libra and Scorpio. This Five of Swords. They had it in their conscious position. Maybe Cancer too. Either way. A lot of collective energy per usual, but it seems strong mentally speaking. You rule the fives too. Near future, Six of Wands. Fantastic. What have you been learning about yourself? Good. Knight of Pentacles. What will you be learning about? What you need to learn next is something to do with the Two of Pentacles, which you're afraid of. Two of Swords. You rule the second house too, right? How to resolve what you can't decide about at this point, or how to accept where it is that you need to go, and moving forward is time and appropriate rest too. Okay? The clouds are beautiful right now. They're moving really fast. Just let me tune in a second. I gotta sneeze. Phew. Excuse me. Bless me. Observing your surroundings quietly could really help you in this time, right? Like, not necessarily seeking an answer in them or some sort of, I heard grandiose epiphany about whatever, but just putting yourself in a really present place vibrationally with all the things around you. Because that's good for the emotional well-being. That's good for the internal waters, right? That's good for... I really love this line, Ace of Pentacles, King of Cups, Six of Wands. It's very forward, it's very focused, it's like, here's a blessing. In the past, obviously something, you know, someone handed you like a magic bean. Now, if we go into the Jack and the Beanstalk story, right? It is very, very magical, and it grows very fast, right? Something happens really fast. but then you have to be brave enough to climb to the top, and it's up, right? So it takes effort. It's you've put in the effort, right? I see. You go from an ace all the way to a king, all the way around. Consciously, I see that you're very positive during this time also. It's awesome. You could also have children that are in a good space. You know what I mean? Inner child, of course, also. You have to learn to trust yourself a little bit more, okay? Because, hey, get out of the garden. Don't step on the herbs, please. Thank you. See, we talked about this before. You need air. Air needs to be in combination with every element, but particularly trees. They're so patient. You're so patient, right? Trees don't speak unless the wind comes, unless it's connected to the wind. And I know you're a strong sign, can be a bit bullheaded, right, about things at times. There's nothing wrong with that. It can be very helpful. But because you're so practical, sometimes I sense that your intuition part Are you okay, baby? Are you okay? Come here. Hold on a second, she just squeaked. Come here, baby. You okay? Okay. Sorry, just a second. Okay. Okay. You wish someone would treat you like that? Yeah, it's okay. Good girl. Yes. Yes. See you later. You know, sometimes it's something that's like under the surface that causes the irritation. But the cool thing is that with certain situations that are under the surface, an external thing can change, can fix it, right? We need to understand what it is that's going on under the surface, and then we can apply what needs to be done correctly, right? Stay close, please. Since you're having to make certain subconsciously, and also just, I see this as consciously too, but like the foundation of your life now, especially for most of you with that Uranus in Taurus transit since May, right? I sense it shook a lot of you around that time. There was something going on that like shook you, shook your stability in a way, shook your, where you were standing, and how you were standing there. And it kind of made you realize that there are certain parts of your life where you like were a bull inside of a pen, right? Like you finally recognize like, oh, I'm inside of this barrier that someone else made, right? And then you busted, for a lot of you, you busted through it. Or again, like I mentioned, like God or your ancestors just booted you through the door, right? Because you could have seen the fence the whole time, but you didn't see it. Or you didn't want to see it. You weren't able to see it. But now I sense that you're starting to see things very clearly. You're starting to feel things more accordingly to what the reality of the situation is. And also understanding that you're the bull. You don't have to live in a pan at all, right? And what is, with all animals, they have their own boundaries, right? What's appropriate to them. Like wolves, they need at least, and this is according to the government, the governmente, the mind control, that's what that word means, statistics, but they say averagely a wolf needs 25 square miles. A wolf pack needs 25 square miles to live in accordance to natural law. I would say it's probably more than that, and it needs to also, that's the thing too, right? We make these rules and regulations that are so distinctive and scientifically dictated to what's a reality is supposed to be. But no one's taking into account where, okay, say wolves are in a 25 square mile radius, or what have you. Well, that animal isn't going to just live there in this technical boundary world. Like, that has to shift wherever it needs to go. And as that energy or that group or that well, I heard that energy again, shifts and moves, well, then everything else around it has to shift and move too, right? Other animals will like smell the scent of the wolf to understand that that's its boundary. Because we're always moving as we go along. Nothing is still, ever. Even this is moving. I know some of you for sure know that. And not just from a scientific point of view, molecularly speaking, but also just, you know it from empirical evidence of seeing it yourself, of understanding that yourself. And maybe that's part of this time too, is you're starting to understand yourself. And also, interestingly enough, Libra and Scorpio both received their opposite sign. They had it in the future, but you have it in the heart of the matter, which shows a very beautiful mirroring of self. Of course, this could be other people around you, but it also is very much you. You know, you looking at you and understanding like, okay, I heard I'm so ready for the next step, right? I also felt very creative before I started this video. I was like, oh, I'm really excited to like start this new sewing project. I finally like got an area to put my sewing stuff, and I've been really excited and like digging into like I started paying attention. I feel like this will help you. I've been starting to pay attention to what I'm naturally interested in, right? We're going back to natural law. This seems to be a thing. It's good. It's very good. You're the tender of Mother Earth, right? So I started to realize like, oh, I've always been very interested in my heritage as an Armenian, but all cultures that are ancient. Hopi I'm very connected to. I'm also Scottish, so either way, I started just kind of connecting the dots like, oh, I tend to look up these kinds of things. I tend to research these kinds of things. I tend to be drawn to these kinds of things. And then I was like, well, what is it about that? You know? And then instead of necessarily having all the answers to why it is, just understanding that that's something that's natural, right? Like we talked about this with wearing the same outfit, right? There's certain things that will always sort of stay the same about you. That's part of your character doesn't change, but the costume can. Interesting. So anyway, I did some research to be like, wow, I really want this. I took some time there was time put into looking for what it was that I wanted, but from someone else. And then I realized, like, oh, I can just make that myself. Right? So for each of you, I sense that you should really pay attention to and take some time to think about, like, what are your natural talents that God gave you? You know? Hey, stay over here. Good girl. Stay over here, please. Isa. Hold on a second. Sorry. Come on. Get over here. Come on. She's such an explorer. I don't really like that one because it scares me. Let's figure it out. There are certain cycles that you're still going through. I sense that you're honing in on your own self-mastery, okay? And then I heard governmente, again, government. So it's like, you have to govern your own mind, okay? You govern your own emotions. And I sense in the future that you really figure that out, right? It's a basic human right to be free, to feel safe and loved and protected, to think as an individual, to feel as an individual. And with Scorpio in the center here, also understanding the difference between right and wrong, because that is not something that is subjective. Right and wrong is innately connected to natural law. You know? And when we truly understand and connect to that and comprehend what that is deeply within ourselves, then there's no reason to ever feel stuck in not knowing how to go about something. Right? You okay? Poor baby. There's also, for a lot of you, like, some of your subconscious walls, or who you let into your life, what kind of energy you let into yourself, has to do with things with your mom. Right? To females in your life. I mentioned this before, right, in mid-October, but getting more sunshine will give you more energy, okay? I also see changing your costume, too, with these two. Like, you know, instead of armor, it's like this soft, you know, loose, flowing clothing, right? Not wearing, it's a new fad to, like, wear really tight clothing. But it's actually very restrictive to the body, you know. There's a reason why no ancient clothing is tight, and now it is, right? That's interesting. Something to think about. Because that's the external having more fluidity, right? That's important. I heard 2 to 4 weeks, 2 to 4 months. You need to take your time thinking about how to go about something. But the reason why you haven't, whatever decision technically hasn't been made yet, whatever that may be, it can also be the way you feel about it. Like maybe you feel something in your heart, but it's not in the external world yet, right? Because once we externalize what's going on in there, then we get, or our external world changes, right? Ow. But you have a little bit more time. There has to be time in between. That's what this card's about. Because technically, this card comes after this. You get to town and you get a rest. Then you start out again on a new thing. And then once you do that, then you run into the Two of Swords and make some decision. And I'm sure in the near future we'll figure out what that is, right? Right. I hope you had a wonderful full moon in Taurus. It was very beautiful here. It's like over the clouds were kind of misty over the moon. It's really pretty. It did feel really grounding, you know, so thank you for that. Thanks a lot, actually. All right. Yeah. Anyone who's still here, thanks for being here. Thanks for everyone who's been so supportive and intellectually inspiring and supporting the channel and, you know, bringing that good energy into this space, into this channel, right? That's why they call it a channel. So then that goes out to sea, right? And it expands. It's really awesome. Thank you. All right. Talk to you later, Gator. Peace.